Welcome everybody to another Artist Happy Hour series. Those of you who haven't been on these before, we do ask that you keep your mics off during the talks. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat, and kind of towards the end of the talk, I will either field those to Marlene, or you're more than welcome to turn your mic off at the end in your camera and ask the questions yourself. If not, I'm more than willing to kind of chaperone those questions on over. You are more than welcome to leave your camera on during the talk. As I said, if it kind of gets a little skippy or slows it down on your end, you might want to turn your camera off, but kind of depends on your connection. So yeah, so welcome everybody. We are excited to have Marlene True joining us tonight, who is joining us from North Carolina. She's the director of Pocosin Arts down there. So welcome, Marlene.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here with you guys.
Yeah, so kind of to get things going, I figured I'd just ask a couple of questions.
Sure.
I haven't been starting these with how has the pandemic affected you? I'm sure at Pocosin it's kind of changed your daily schedule quite a bit.
You know, you would think, and it's really just changed, of course, how we're working. When it first started, of course, we had just finished, you know, really it felt like getting our workshop catalogs in everybody's hands, and, you know, registrations for workshops were coming in, and we were gearing up to have the artists come to teach workshops at Pocosin. And then when it became inevitable that we were going to have to pause all our programs because of COVID, we thought, wow, okay, let's do something, you know. And so we got in there and put Zoom to work right away and started planning workshops online through Zoom. And, you know, we were motivated by not only trying to keep Pocosin, you know, connected to everyone, but also to give artists a place to teach, and also all the people who wanted to be connected and have that studio experience to be able to provide that. And I have to say it's been really satisfying and worked out really well. So anyway, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, definitely. The Zooms are extremely helpful, but there's something, I mean, I know for us up at Touchstone, there's, you know, that environment that really happens in kind of a craft school, or kind of that setting is kind of hard to capture. Have you kind of, I mean, it's hard to beat that like in-person community. I mean, these things are great because it kind of helps serve that need, but have you kind of felt, how have you kind of felt about dealing with that aspect of things?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, certainly in person is way better. It's, you know, you get to really know your classmates really well, and, you know, you're in a beautiful environment like Touchstones or Pocosin Arts, and yeah, we really miss that, and we're looking forward to everybody coming back to our studios. But again, it's been remarkable how well the workshops have worked through Zoom. So anyway, I feel like it's something that we'll probably continue to do. I also think it's made it really accessible to a lot of people. So yeah. That's
Great. Have you found any time to work on your own studio practice?
You know, not a whole lot. Probably like a whole lot of other arts administrators, but I will say the other day, Sharon Massey was teaching a signet ring workshop, and I actually hosted that workshop, and so I thought, well, all right, I'll give myself a project. So tomorrow she actually teaches the second part of that workshop, so I've got my little beginning of the ring here. So anyway, not a whole lot, you know. Running Pocosin Arts really keeps me pretty occupied, happily so. And, you know, that's a really positive thing too, because I get to interact with a lot of other creative people, artists, and people who want to take the workshops. So that's really gratifying to me.
Great. Are you able to find, even to be able to find time like during a normal kind of workshop schedule to actually sit down and take workshops during, I mean, maybe
No, you know, that's kind of funny. I always think, oh, I'd love to take that workshop. And then I say I'm going to do it, but, you know, I think I have to go someplace like Touchstone or someplace else to actually get away. Last summer, I went to Peters Valley, and actually that was 2 summers ago that I actually took a workshop there. But anyway, yeah, that's really the only way to get to do it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I was just wondering if like the Zoom thing helped you actually be able to sit in on something a little bit rather than it's so hard to find the time to.
It is. It is.
I mean, I
But
know all of us as Touchstone, we all are like, oh man, I really would love to take this workshop, but then it's just so hard to be able to do that while you're doing everything else. So,
but actually, some of what I really enjoy too about I always go to the artist talks that happen during our workshops, and so I kind of feel like I get a little peek in what's going on inside the studios, and I really enjoy that. So yeah.
great. Well, if you want, we can jump right into your presentation and get that going, and then.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. And let's see. I guess I can just share my screen. Is that right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, here we go. There it is. Okay. Well, if I were coming to Touchstone this summer, I was going to teach a workshop called the Tin Can. And as long as, well, for a long, long time, I've been working with repurposed materials, mainly tin cans. And you see that little 24K insignia there on the can. That becomes a little more significant later on. You'll see why. But oops, it doesn't want to advance. How do I do that? Whoops.
You might have to click
Oh,
the arrow at the bottom.
that's a little different. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I started out at Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, and working on my BFA longer ago than I care to remember or imagine. But anyway, I started out, I had a really great instructor, Paulette Myers, and she was really one of those teachers that wanted you to learn all of the fundamentals and how to do it right. So anyway, this was one of my pieces from that time. And, but you know, one of the things I really wanted was color, and I wanted pattern in my work. And so I started pursuing a technique called mokume ganye, and these are some of those pieces. And that, I have to say, was my first and last teapot. So anyway, this is one of Paulette's pieces, one of her most recent pieces. And anyway, I think that, yeah, I owe so much to her because she was such a great influence and really gave a lot of encouragement to me early on. So I thank Paulette. And throughout this talk, I'm going to talk about different mentors in my trajectory. So full disclosure, I'm from Texas originally. I like to imagine, you know, that this is me, but not quite. And anyway, you know, growing up in that environment was great. I still love to go visit. That's the Riverwalk at Christmas time. Lots of color. There was always plenty of folk art and people working really creatively with repurposed materials. So always really enjoyed that. And then when I was almost finished with school, I went out to Denver, Colorado to the Society of North American Goldsmiths Conference. Another really great organization, and brought a lot of positive things into my studio practice and into my life through friendships. But Bobby Hanson was presenting at that conference, and he was talking about the fine art of the tin can. And he was showing images of people making jewelry out of tin cans, and I was like, yes, color, that's a way to get it. And it was so exciting. So I was sitting back there. I think it was a, you know, digital camera, my first digital camera. I was sitting back there taking pictures of his slide talk. So I was so excited. And so I didn't really know how to start working with that material, but I started using bottle caps like gemstones, kind of cutting them down and setting them into sterling silver. And this was some of the pieces that I was making after I got out of school, kind of doing production work, things like that. And boy, it was just kind of like game on. Everything that had an image or color, I was really into, and started shopping it on eBay and thrift stores, and just had a real blast using that material, and started using the hydraulic press and different things to work with that material. This is one of my favorite restaurants in San Antonio, Mi Tieta, and I love it because it's always decorated for Christmas. The decorations are great, and so they inspired these earrings here. It's kind of sad. The lady that bought these, I think she partied too much. One of them fell off and she ran over it with a car, so sad ending. And then, you know, making all of those kind of production pieces, I thought, you know, I think I want to do something else. And so I started looking at graduate schools, and I went to East Carolina University, and Bob Eppendorf, of course, was just such a great influence and someone that I really admired his work. And so that's him stealing roses out of my backyard in grad school. And, you know, just during grad school, getting started, it was like, wow, now what do I do? And I kind of at first kept doing some of the same things, and just trying to combine it with the tin cans with different materials. And of course, exhibitions are always a great opportunity to try out something new. And this one actually was called The Badge Show, and it was at the Society for Contemporary Crafts in Pittsburgh. And all the artists that were invited to be in that show got paired with a member of the community, and I got to work with this brewmaster. And it was just the best research project ever. He sent me a case of beer from Penn Brewery, and you know, that's all I needed to get me going. So there you go. And that's him wearing St. Arnold in the image there. And this little reliquary is made out of formed copper and some hinge work going on. That was a really fun piece to make. And then I got a commission. Oops, whoa. That wasn't supposed to happen. I got a commission from a couple in the UK. They wanted some anniversary rings. And I was like, okay, well, what do you want on these rings? And they said, the only thing we really care about is that the tin is blue and white, and it needs to say something. So, all right, I found a WD-40 can, and, you know, making these rings, thinking about posy rings and how they have sentimental messages on the inside. You can see that in the gold ring up there. And so I settled on, his ring said sticky mechanism, and hers was rusted parts. So anyway, that was a pretty fun project. And then moving on, I started to fabricate some other pieces that, for example, this piece, the lady was cut out of the top of this little, I think it was like an eyelash pomade. This was a tin from like the 40s or 50s. And so then I made the ring out of steel and started making pieces that I was fabricating with the tin can, burning the paint off. And once I started doing that, it was really freeing because I had started to feel really confined by just trying to find all of this found imagery. I'm excited about this piece. It's now in the National Ornamental Metal Museum in Tennessee, and it's a tribute to my mother, so that makes me pretty happy. And so when I was in graduate school, I got to go to Italy with Linda Darty, another really great influence in my art career. And I loved all the cathedrals, and this specific candelabra inspired, you know, this piece, which really stepped away from imagery altogether. And I just, again, started burning the paint off of the tin can and fabricating with the steel, and then going back in with some of the colored pieces. So that was a real breakthrough piece, and this was in my thesis show, and that was my thesis show postcard. So I was really digging the rust and all that kind of stuff too. So really was enjoying that. And then these two are also made out of steel, these little wreaths, and I've started using spray paint and an image transfer. So these image transfers went over the text of an olive oil tin, and they were transparent so you could see through. And you know, it's just really having a ball trying to, you know, figure out new ways to use the material. And so these are some of the last pieces I made in graduate school that were all just totally devoid of any imagery from what was on the can. A lot of these I used olive oil tins because they were great, the big ones that you could take apart. Made a nice big sheet of metal. And for example, on this rabbit over here, some of this white is kind of a residual of the paint that was burned off. And I started using Prismacolor and things like that too, or again, spray paint. So these were a lot of fun. And then, you know, after I had graduated from East Carolina, I had gone to Pocosin Arts and taken a workshop with Bobby Hanson, of all people. I finally got to meet him. And it was about an hour and a half, or it is about an hour and a half from East Carolina. And I ended up going back a few times, and I fell in love with that community. It's a really beautiful place, Columbia. And I ended up doing a residency there right after school. So this is the town. You can see that it's really close to the ocean, which I love. I'm really inspired by that kind of environment. And so I went there, and this building right here is actually one of our housing units. And it's also got a big common area where we have dining in there and instructor presentations and things like that. And then directly back here, you can only see the roof. I don't know how to go back. Oh, there you go. That's actually their studio in that building, and also lodging facilities upstairs. So unfortunately, the catamaran does not come with, being at Pocosin. But this is looking onto the Scuppernong River from the deck of the building I just showed you. It's just a really magical place. It's just extraordinarily beautiful. And a sunrise. This is why I'm here. Part of why I'm here. And right along, close to Pocosin, is the Pocosin Lakes National Wildlife Refuge. And you can go for a stroll on this boardwalk while you're at Pocosin. It's really nice. Here's a couple of shots, some studio shots. This is in the Metals studio. Somebody's really getting after it there. But anyway, back to the residency. While I was there, that boardwalk I showed you, I walked on that every day and kind of really enjoyed seeing how, you know, things changed in nature, and started bringing back in, you know, fragments of the tin can for color, but also fabricating with it and enjoying that whole process. So I really started to like tin cans that were kind of grody and rusting, or the paint was chipping. And these were, I think, old cookie tins, things like that. I just really love that. They're beautiful. And then when I was telling you that the little 24K would become significant, I fabricated these brooches, and I really enjoyed making these, and I decided to see if I could gold plate one of them, and this is 24 karat gold plate on this piece. And then this one just has, I forget the name of the patina, but just black patina and finished with wax. And what I really love about these pieces is that they're a pretty good size, yet you can wear them on a t-shirt, and they don't weigh down the shirt. It's a really nice material to work with because it's strong, but light. And here's a picture of somebody wearing one of my pieces. And the little, this little piece in the middle lifts off. It's got a little hidden compartment. And this right here was actually fragments from a bucket that I pulled out of a scuppernong and just made these little bead-like things and just had fun with that too. And then one of the things I really enjoy about being an artist and an educator is being able to travel and share what I do. And I got invited to West Dean College in Chichester outside of London. And I went there and, of course, traveled all around and just was inspired by a lot of the things that I saw. And I should say, at that time when I was invited, what I was being paid wasn't quite enough to really do an extended trip over there, which I thought if I'm going to go, I really want to have more than just a few days there. So I actually did, this was kind of around the time Kickstarters were beginning, and I thought, well, I'm just going to send a letter out to everyone who's bought a piece from me and see if they will commit to just, you know, donating whatever, and I will send them a piece when I get back from my trip. And it was really one of the most gratifying things I've ever done. All these letters started coming back to me with checks, which was really nice. And I was able to extend my stay by 2 weeks and travel around and just get totally inspired. This was one of the funnier things. I was sitting in a bar and I thought, man, look at that antenna. That guy really wants to watch the soccer game. So anyway, when I came back, I kind of went right into production mode, making all of these pieces for the people who had helped support my trip. And I took elements from a lot of the photographs that I took, and basically I used 3 bottle caps actually 6 bottle caps in each piece to make them, and then forged out these little pieces of steel wire. So anyway, this was the end result piece. You can run a cable through here and wear it as a necklace, and it also had a finding on the back to wear as a brooch. So, and now that's currently where I'm at in my work. When I get to come into the studio, I love working with, again, with the found steel. And these bottle caps, what I really loved about it, once I flattened them, is they have a memory for that texture that they had, and the liquid enamel really goes beautifully into those recesses. So, and then I'm always trying to figure out how to join things, so various cold connections and things like that. So that's where I'm working today. When I do find studio time is enameling and working with steel. So anyway, thank you so much. That's all I have. So yeah, let's see if I can stop sharing my screen. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer.
All right. I've got a question. So when you kind of have an idea in your head for a piece, do you go out and specifically look for certain imagery, or do you kind of just collect a bunch of tin cans and kind of go from what you have?
You know, in the beginning, oh gosh, if I could take you out into my garage, I have bins, many bins of tin cans, and yeah, I used to really look for images and stuff like that, but now not so much. Really, I'm happy if you give me a big olive oil tin, and you know, I can burn that paint off and have a nice big sheet of material. It's usually about 28 gauge thick. If you know, those of you out there that work with metal, it's pretty thin, but it's strong. And so now I'm doing things like, here's a piece that I've worked on. I don't know if you can see that, but this is made out of an olive oil tin, all fabricated, hydraulic press, and enameled. So that's what I'm really interested in doing now. I mean, I do still certainly work with tin. Let's see, I've got some other stuff like, you know, I'm always having fun working with bottle caps because there's a zillion different things you can do to them, but I'm not particularly fond of things that scream bottle caps. So this is an earring. I don't know if you can see that, but it's domed and has a steel piece coming off. So I still like doing stuff like that, but let's see. And then I also, this was actually from an olive oil tin, and it was too beautiful to burn the paint off. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So instead I made a little purse out of it. So it's hinged and has a little magnetic clasp, things like that. So, and of course a champagne cap on it right there. So yeah, I don't know. So yeah, there are still tin cans that I will use the imagery, but a lot of them, now I kind of look for plain ones because if they're too pretty, I won't cut them up. So yeah.
Nice. Do you ever use any other materials for color in your work, or is it kind of always been?
Well, yeah, the enamel. That's really what I like to do now, and I'm really looking forward to having more time to try some things like painting enamel. Jamie Bennett does a lot of just absolutely gorgeous surfaces with enamel and painting enamel. Misa Kaur, who was also one of my professors at East Carolina. Anne Havel is another one. There's so many artists. Oh, and Tanya Crane. Just extraordinary work with enamels. It's really exciting. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love the idea of enamels because I'm a ceramics person.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For me, it's like the one thing that kind of makes somewhat sense in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I fully don't understand them. We actually had an intern doing an enamel demo today, actually. It was the first time I've really seen anyone do it, and it's a fascinating process, and I think it's probably far beyond what she even demoed, but there's probably a lot of things that are really interesting to do with it, and I kind of appreciate that. So does anybody have any questions besides me just asking a bunch? Because I could talk all day.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions.
I mean, for those of the people out there, I don't know if everyone is 100% aware about Pocosin. If you want to talk a little bit about kind of what you do, I know you guys offer a lot of different programming.
Yeah, sure. You know what? I could share the screen again, and I could just take people to maybe. Let's see if, let me look here real quick. Yeah, there we go. Let's see if I can.
I mean, I think after you showed that beautiful shot of the lodging that you have there, that everybody is going to want to be going down there. So
I'm trying to figure out how to, I've got it. Let's see, let me try again. Oh, there it is. Yeah, so can you see that, Travis?
yep.
So this is our website, and of course in the background, that's the river where we're situated next to. And I guess right now the biggest thing is we have a lot of Zoom workshops going on. We've got our summer art kids camp, and when we're able to come to be together, we also have a full lineup of studio workshops too. Another thing I want to point out is we have some free online resources. A lot of the instructors that were supposed to teach this year, we hired them to just create a demonstration video, and we try to release one of those every Saturday. So if you go here to the free online resources, you can go and watch videos on a lot of different subjects. So we'll see, they come up. So there's Tanya Crane. She was doing test tiles with enamel. We have Sans Solder Champlevé. We have a lot of ceramics videos, stone setting, even one about how to photograph your work. So yeah, you should come and check those out. We're doing that. But what's really keeping us going and really super busy right now are our Zoom workshops. And we even have some yoga classes online. So you can just come through here and click through I'll just go to metals and jewelry since I'm a metalsmith. We're on that. Yeah, this was the class Sharon Massey was teaching, the signet ring that I was showing you guys. So these are all the classes that we have right now in that regard. So anyway, yeah, that's what we're doing. And of course, we're getting ready for next year. We're hoping that we can maybe come together in the studio again. And we have applied for a grant to get some video equipment. So hopefully in each studio, in addition to having the instructor right there, we'll have a screen where you can also watch and without crowding around to see what's going on. So anyway, we've got our fingers crossed on that one. Yeah, and we're also getting ready for our annual fundraiser, which is also usually in person, but this year it's going to be online. And one more thing, we are welcoming 2 new resident artists on August 3rd. It's going to be a little bit different residency for them because, of course, we won't have all the people in the studio, but we certainly are still going to have them there. They'll be working and doing some videos also for the community at large. So, yeah, a lot going on, even though it's kind of quiet, but, you know, Zoom has really opened up the world to us. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's been such a weird experience, I know, for everyone up at Touchstone, just kind of figuring out what we're doing. I mean, I know that you guys are doing doing workshops still, which is great to see that there's still kind of that outlet out there for people to get involved. With those, do you kind of see, I mean, the hard thing I think is for a lot of people taking those workshops is not having the equipment at their house.
Mm-hmm.
A space to work in. Do you kind of still have a bunch of people signing up for those?
We do, and that's what we had no idea how that was really going to pan out, but yeah, they've been doing very well. Up to 25 people. That's the biggest classes we've had. So anyway, we were surprised. We just really didn't know what to expect, how that would work out. And, you know, we try to do some classes that are more low tech or don't require a lot of equipment and things like that. But we also decided to do some where, yeah, if you have your metal studio, you can still get in there and do it. And the enameling workshops we've been offering have been really kind of wildly popular. So it's been cool. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Do you find it like really inspiring? I mean, it's so hard to be kind of work in the administration side of a place like Pocosin. It's also really rewarding. I feel like I know in my position, I'm like constantly inspired by everything going on around you.
Yes.
But then finding the time to make the work, you know, kind of trying to find a balance to be able to do that is such a hard thing to do. I don't even know if I'm asking a question. I'm just kind of like expressing kind of how I feel. Like I always get these great ideas from these workshops. I'm like, oh, I really would love to try this. And then, you know, 6 months later, I'm like, I still haven't had the time to get into the studio.
Yeah. My answer to that is to just have, you know, my sketchbook and be able to write things down. And I feel like when I am able to step back into the studio more on a maybe full-time basis in the future, I think I'm going to have so many ideas and so many things to do. It's going to be hard to choose because there is a lot. And even beyond just metalsmithing too, I see so many things in other studios that I would like to try. Yeah, it's kind of endless. So.
Yeah, I feel like that's like the rewarding thing about like being and working at a center is just like the constant inspiration, but then you have the pull between like the administration and then trying to get in your studio.
Right.
What is your favorite part about kind of being on the administrative side and being involved in kind of?
Oh, you know, my biggest joy has been watching Pocosin Arts grow and creating new programs and, you know, a scholarship program, a residency program, and, you know, making those opportunities available to others and just seeing their growth has been fantastic. And also, we also started in 2012 a youth program that's supported by the Grable Foundation, and that's been extraordinary also, because where we are, there's not a lot of opportunities because where we are geographically, and so being able to have instructors, our resident artists teach our art after school, and then our adult community classes. It's really cool to be able to offer those opportunities. And then 3 years ago, the state of North Carolina also, through Senator Smith, gave us a grant to build out a fab lab. So we call it the Smith Lab, and it's got a full-size ShotBot CNC, a Trotec speedy laser that's really fantastic, 3 kinds of 3D printers, and a vinyl cutter and things like that. So that in combination with some new woodworking tools has really kind of filled a new niche for us. So it's been pretty exciting to see what's happening there. And one of the things we're looking forward to also during this downtime is we received some funding to do some renovations to that Riverview building. It's a little bit vulnerable to flooding, so we're actually going to get to have a facelift on that building and raise it about 18 inches above flood elevation so that it'll be out of danger. And we're renovating our clay and metal studios and moving them upstairs in our current building, and the wood shop is going to be in the downstairs. So it's pretty exciting what's happening. So that's also what we're using our downtime for, is to kind of shuffle things around while we can. So it'll be nice and new and shiny when people come back in.
Yeah, definitely. I think everybody's looking forward to either being able to get in that situation or have kind of the community back together.
Yeah, it's interesting with this situation to try to find, okay, since we can't, have in-person classes, what can we do? How can we be creative and find either through programs or, making the spaces more accessible and things like that.
Definitely. So we did get one question that's kind of a technical question. So do you ever find that the enamel on the found steel tends to form tiny bubbles in it?
Does the enamel on the steel form bubbles?
Yeah, like the found steel.
No, I haven't, not so far. I haven't had any, oh, well, you know what, that's probably not true, but I actually am looking at this piece right here, but I kind of like that. It's kind of the texture, it's, I guess it would be bubbles, but I really like that kind of gritty texture. It's, and then I also etch it, so I got a matty surface, so it doesn't break off or anything. It's not like huge bubbles, but I guess that could be what's causing some of that. So anyway, yeah.
All right, so we got some, now we're getting the questions. Everybody's getting moving now, which is great.
All right, get them coming.
What advice would you give to someone who is in their early career, who's interested in working for a craft center, nonprofit, art center?
Oh man, that's a great question. When I first came to Pocosin Arts, we had a clay studio and pretty much a lot of space and a little apartment. And so the workshop that I got to go to, Pocosin Arts used to have those classes off-site. And it was kind of like a once-a-year big kind of blowout with 5 or 6 workshops, and it was fun. We had it at this place called the 4-H Center on Bulls Bay. It's a really nice spot. And, but, when you went back to the arts center, there was that apartment, and I thought, I wonder if I could do a residency there. We didn't really have a formalized residency program. And the founding director, Feather Phillips, was just visionary having, getting the school started in that space. Can y'all hear that music? I hope not. Okay, good. I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? But anyway, I think it's being able to recognize opportunities sometimes in small places or smaller craft centers, and you can go and sometimes those opportunities are right there. I kind of just grew through that. I was a resident artist, and then I was invited to be the programming person, and just kind of moved up through the organization in that way. Now, did I have that in mind when I first started? No, but I really enjoyed working there and being a part of it. And yeah, so you never know where you might find an opportunity. Yeah, so sometimes it's not really obvious. I hope that answers your question.
I think it did. I definitely agree with you. I think,
Yeah.
I mean, places like Pocosin, I know Touchstone, we always need help,
Yes, absolutely.
And kind of, I think the people that tend to like really get involved and really put effort, I mean, I know at Touchstone, those are the people I love to have around, and I'm sure Pocosin is a similar. I mean, every studio I've worked at, like, oh yeah, you're willing to come hang out and help us with things.
Oh yeah, and I would say that too. So our resident artists are a really important part of Pocosin Arts too, in that they teach, and they just kind of help provide some of that support for us as well, and help with that community cohesiveness there. So that's a really great program too. Yeah.
Do you want to hit on your resident program? I know I've known
Yeah, sure.
through your program.
Our residency right now is a 10-month residency, and they come. You apply. It's a competitive process, and we have one in clay, metals, and also in the wood shop / digital fabrication. And yeah, what we do for them is they get a free place to stay. They get full use of the studios that they're in, and the equipment, all of that. They get paid to teach, and can sell their work out of the gallery. And yeah, it's a really great opportunity to come and grow, because if you want to teach youth classes or adult classes, they get a lot of that. So, and now our new residents are going to get to do some online teaching, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a really important skill to have. So
it really is, yeah, for sure.
I feel like in the future there's going to be more. I mean, after this, there's probably going to be more stuff moving to it, because it really does open things up quite a bit for people. I mean, again, we've got people from across the country that usually wouldn't be able to kind of be involved in our programming, and it's really opened it up to be able to have that. So I think that is going to be a huge skill. I mean, we have a few interns at Touchstone right now that are, well, we're learning as they're learning and helping us out with all of that stuff as well. So
yeah, that's really fun too. I mean, I think, you know what, actually, I referenced my undergrad professor, Paulette Myers, and she was really important. She goes, man, just try everything, go for everything, give it your all. And then, you can always peel back and say, oh, you know what, I don't want to do that. But it was really great advice. And I think if you're getting started, go volunteer. Like, for example, I volunteered for SNAG, the Society of North American Goldsmiths. I helped them with their raffle and their auctions at their conferences and things like that. So just get involved. That's really important for any artist, for sure. Yeah.
Definitely. So did you have any art administration experience? I mean, you kind of answered this a little in my...
No, you're right. I did. I didn't have any experience with that. And so it was all, I didn't go to school for it, of course, and it was all on the job learning. And then once I became the director, I did go to Duke University for their nonprofit management certificate. So just trying to find things that I didn't go off to school for years, but finding some programs that could help me fill in the gaps where I could. And then, of course, finding other people to talk to is really important. So, yeah, just like always, get out there and get involved. It's the really important thing to do.
I think that's great advice.
Mhm.
So, does anyone else have any questions? You're more than welcome to ask yourself, turn off your mic. If not, I definitely have one last question for Marlene. Nobody has anything?
Sure.
So this is a hypothetical question. So if you all of a sudden had all the studio time in the world, what do you think you would focus on?
That's a great question. I'm really thinking about taking the metal pieces that I'm doing, and I'd really like to do some bigger wall pieces that are, kind of multiples. So I'm interested in that, and just kind of some repetitive patterns and colors, things like that. And one of the cool things that I've enjoyed about getting the Fab Lab at Pocosin, and actually, one of the reasons I really wanted a Fab Lab for Pocosin was I had such a great time at Haystack working in that studio and having some help to deal with the equipment there, and then being able to apply it to my work in the metal studio. So I would like to do some more of that, making, you probably won't be able to see this. Let's see. One of the things I made there, I'm sure you might not be able to see that, but it's a plexi die that has some ridges cut into it, but they don't go all the way through. Of course, this does in the middle, but then being able to take that to the hydraulic press with my steel, man, that is just like great fun. And it's just created a lot more questions for me that I want to go out and play with when I get the opportunity. So, and then of course, enameling, trying some more of that on there. So yeah, I kind of see going bigger and to the wall.
Nice.
Not just jewelry. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've got one more question now, since you haven't started talking about like how using technology is becoming such like a big part of most arts centers, studios. I mean, how do you see that playing into like helping benefit the arts in general? Like, like 3D printing, kind of you being able to use that technology and how that can really influence and change work.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, just because for me, I see all of those toys and things, I call them toys or tools. It's just an extension of, your toolbox. And it's being able to, I guess, use those tools to help you either create something totally new, like, I don't know, processes, things like that. And of course, some people are really good at, for example, taking that 3D printer and making that thing right there. But I think it's just opening another door for people to think creatively and how to combine possibly with their more traditional studio practices. So yeah. It's just kind of endless. I had somebody come in and we did some laser etching on wood. I don't have that piece down here, but anyway, yeah, I actually, if I had all the time in the world, I would love to get in there and kind of play and explore some of the ideas I have. The other thing that I've found really fun. Shawn Sheehy is a Chicago artist. That he makes pop-up books and things like that. And he taught a workshop for Pocosin, and I just kind of got really interested in all these. He was using recycled cardboards and things like that. And wow, I started collecting, of course, cardboard then. And all these fantastic colors, and I thought, how fun would it be to take the laser printer and create a composition and cut it out of all these different colors of cardboards and just create that image, whatever it is you want to do. So yeah, there's a lot of ideas, just need a little time.
There's never enough time to do anything.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, I'll be interested to see how kind of having that Fab Lab at Pocosin really influences the residents and kind of everybody you bring in the future. I think that's a awesome thing to kind
I
of
will
do.
say right now, one of the biggest challenges is I think it's a little bit less than when we first started, but just finding people that actually can take it from the computer and doing the design work in Illustrator or Fusion 360 or whatever it is you're using, and then to be able to translate that to the machine and what you're doing at the bench. So, but I think a lot more students have access to that kind of training than before, and I think we'll start to see a lot more of it. And again, I think it's just embracing it as another tool. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I think it's going to be huge. I'm excited to kind of see how people use it and what they do with it. So I think it's great that a craft center like Pocosin has kind of those facilities available to people. It'll be interesting to see how y'all use it and kind of the residents really use it in that manner. So, well, if no one else has any questions, I definitely want to thank Marlene for coming out and joining us tonight on the happy hour. Marlene will be teaching for us in 2021 at the end of June at Touchstone. So if it's something you're interested in, feel free to reach out to us at Touchstone or Marlene. We don't have any of the classes up and listed yet. We usually don't end up getting them listed for the following year until about October, but we can get you on a wait list if you contact us here at Touchstone. We would love to have you. The happy hours are going to continue being, we might tone back to every other Thursday as things are kind of starting to open up a little bit more. We don't have a full schedule out, but if you're interested in attending more of these talks, be sure to check our website, which is touchstonecrafts.org. Or kind of see what's going on. As I kind of mentioned, we have a bunch of other programming happening as well. We have intern talks, which have been happening Tuesday nights, which we have a few interns at Touchstone right now that have been doing demos. They're on Instagram Live, so if you want to check those out. Next week, we have a full week of programming that is kind of designed for educators, K-12 educators. So if you know anyone that's interested in that, they're not all just for K-12 educators. We have some artists talking about some pretty interesting topics, so feel free to jump on any of those. And thank you all for attending these. Again, these have been really great just to be able to kind of have this community of people come together and talk about arts and craft mediums. And it's been really great for me to be able to do this. And big thanks to Touchstone for making this happen. So thank you all, and everybody have a good night.
Hey, Travis, thank you. It was a real pleasure, and I look forward to being at Touchstone next year. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to hang out, you're more than welcome to hang out